Subscribers to NewOrleans.Football get access to our live show, all of our news and analysis, and extra podcasts every week, the overtime show. So make sure you stick around afterwards to watch that if you were signed up on the site, and so much more. Use the code NOF to save 20% on your first payment. NewOrleans.Football/subscribe. We're back in our original studios. Our guys Total Maintenance get us right with some new ACs up at the Spot On Vet. So we'll be back there later this week. We're going to have another show tomorrow on Tuesday just for subscribers to the site, breaking down the OTA. That'll go out live to everybody else on Wednesday. So if you want that immediate analysis, make sure you are signed up for the site. And welcome back to another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. And if you're in the market for a new car, make sure you check out our guy, Matt Bowers, best car dealer in the whole entire region. He'll get you the best prices, the best customer care, the best service, the best car buying experience you can find. Make sure you check out one of his many dealerships. Today's show, we're going to talk about that OTA, some of the stuff we're looking for. We're going to break down who has the best odds of making a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro team, and so much more. So stick around for all of that after this quick break from our great sponsors. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. This Father's Day, show your dad you appreciate his unique style with a Breitling watch from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Make sure you're ready for the day. Father's Day is June 16th. And if not, maybe you just want to treat yourself. Smash that presentation, nail that deal, achieve that goal. Get yourself a Breitling watch from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, 7713 Maple Street, between Adams and Burdett, Uptown, 504-866-5433, or visit them at friendandcompany.com. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show. All right, as I said in the open, we are going to have another show tomorrow that's available just initially to the NOF subscribers, breaking down that first OTA. So if you aren't signed up for the site, make sure you do that. That show will not go out to everybody else until Wednesday, so you can get that a whole day early just by signing up. All right, I'm Nick Underhill here with Mike Triplett and Brandon Thomas, and it's now time for the lead presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is the official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints, and they should be your official jeweler for Father's Day. That's coming up. And if you want to show your dad, you want to do something big for him, go there, get him a new Breitling watch, and get him right for Father's Day. Take care of yourself, too. Buy yourself one if you want. And while you're there, check out their Florida Lead necklace and earrings that you see on the screen right now. The earrings are priced at $1,100, and the necklace is $1,350.
Lead topic. What are we most eager to watch tomorrow at the first OTA? OTAs are here. It's time. Everybody, it's time to celebrate. Tuesday, we get our first look at the full Saints roster on the practice field. Some expectations, kind of where we see where the team is at. Obviously, we know Ramczyk isn't going to be out there. Lattimore might not be out there. And Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's still nursing from injury. So what are you most eager to see?
Yeah, I think the stuff that I'm most eager to see is just really, this is just a very broad answer. Starting out, just this new offensive coaching staff with the whole entire offense. That is number one for me, just kind of seeing how a full-scale practice runs, how they interact with everybody. What's Andrew Janocko sound like talking to Derek Carr? We heard him going through stuff with Spencer Rattler. How is Trevor Penning, optically look like he's taking to the coaching, and how does Trevor Penning look? Mike tweeted a picture today of Cesar Ruiz being down a little bit of weight. Are we going to see that with everybody? Because this scheme does like smaller offensive linemen. They kind of prioritize that a little bit. So that was kind of really interesting to me to see that. But just number one on my list is just the offense with the new coaching staff and just kind of how everybody looks within that.
What can you I've got a lot more that we're going to go over, but let's stick on this. What do you think we can glean about the offense from a first day OTA install? Like pretty basic stuff usually, but do you think you're going to learn anything about the offense tomorrow?
Probably not a lot of learning, but this is, as I said with the rookie stuff, I think this is kind of where you're scouting downsides more so. Like I think downsides mean more than kind of the upsides, because it kind of gives you like, what's the starting point? Like, how confused does somebody look? Is somebody struggling to get something done? Is there something that looks broken? If somebody looks great, I mean, you can look at that too, but it doesn't necessarily translate to the regular season because it's just so early into everything. But just a little bit of some stuff I think you could see. Like we kind of learned about the play calls at the last practice, so that's one thing that's kind of down a little bit. Just kind of maybe watching how the offensive line works in concert, where guys are lining up, downsides. I mean, that's kind of the stuff, but I don't know that we're going to get like global vision. I don't think we're going to see like the, this would kind of be like the base stuff being assaulted. Like, I don't know that we're going to see the motion package on day one's OTAs or kind of, what the bootlegs are going to look like or anything like that. Or, is Rashid Shaheed going to be the gadget play? Like, we aren't going to learn that kind of stuff, but I think we can just kind of see how everything kind of operates, comes together, how everybody's communicating. And I am excited to see that. And I'm incredibly excited to just kind of see where everybody's lined up on the offensive line.
Offensive line's number one on my list. And you're right. I talked to Cesar Ruiz today. First thing I noticed was how slim he looked. Now, I also remembered that last year he was recovering from foot surgery. So this is a great offseason for him anyway. Just feels good, looks good. He's got a complete full offseason. That should bode well for him. But noticeably slimmer. And he said he was down from 325 to 314. He was funny. He goes, "Thank you." He goes, if people weren't noticing, then, what would have all that, I'd have to go back to eating burgers. What would it all been? What would it all have been for if people weren't noticing? But
he got that new contract too, so he can hit up 5 guys. Like, he could be eating good burgers.
But I said, so was this a directive from the new coaching staff or something you wanted to do on your own? He goes, yeah, I mean, they suggested it, but he said he wanted to. He also said he flew back the day after they were hired. He wanted to meet everybody. Like, he is really excited about these changes. He said they're going to have us on the move, and I know that's how this offense works. That's true of everything he's talked to them about. He wanted to be slimmer, and that stands out. I'm sure we'll see some of the same from the other guys. I talked to players and coaches on and off the record today. There's some optimism about Trevor Penning. They still said, forget the whole, does this system fit him or not? It's he just needs to get his confidence back, and they think both, just maybe more positive coaching, the change of scenery, but also being healthy, having an entire healthy offseason. So I'm curious to see what he looks like and how he feels. But yeah, absolutely. Where's everyone lining up? I mean, are we still going to see Taliosa Fuaga at left tackle, even though the entire offense is back now?
I can answer that.
Yes.
It sounds like they're going to get work at both. They're going to get work at both. Like, so Penning, I was told Penning would get work at both, which means Fuaga is going to get work at both. But I mean, I think there's definitely a commitment over this period of time to see Fuaga at left tackle and find out what he can do there.
And what does that mean? Who's with the ones with him and Penning? And when they're not at the ones, where do they like Oli Udoh? What's the vision for him? They obviously just signed the new veteran. Give me 1 second. Help me with his name. Lucas Patrick. Do they envision him already with the ones or with the twos? Does Landon Young get a crack at that right tackle? Does Nick Saldivari get a crack? Where are they in the 1 deep and the 2 deep? I'm really fascinated to see all of that for sure. That's number one on my list.
Look, the thing is too is like what we see might not be what's happening at every one of these two. That's a reminder just kind of for everybody that kind of follows along with the stuff and really gets into the details. And if you're on our site, like you are into the details. Right. There's 9 of these and we're only going to see 3. So they can choose what to show us. Like, we could be seeing Alontae Taylor in the slot every single one of these practices, and then in the 6 that are closed to us, he could be playing on the outside, or Penning could be on the left, and then in the other ones he's on the right, and stuff like that. So there's just a limited viewing window. We will see the whole practices, but we're only seeing 33%
exactly,
of them.
Especially when it comes to the rotating. I mean, I remember a couple things we learned this time last year. That was the first clue we had. Oh, James Hurst is starting and Andrews Pete's the backup. We learned that because of the tackle guard thing. And then, we started to see, and this is just the first little clue, but we started to see Paulson Adebo didn't want to let go of his job. It was an every other day thing with his competition with Alontae Taylor last year, but he started to make waves early. We saw Chris Olave making contested catches and things like that. So a lot of things you can't see, but some things you can. And I had corners on my list. I do not expect to see Marshawn Lattimore out here. That's just his MO.
What about
anyway.
Taysom? Do you expect to see Taysom?
Taysom, Marshawn, don't expect to see. That's what I have listed here. It's just they're guys that don't normally come Otherwise, Taysom would be high on my list.
I don't know that we're going to see. Alvin's been, and I don't know if he's reposting old stuff or if it's current stuff, but he's been posting stuff on his Instagram story about being in Africa, and I know he was there before. I don't know if he
What
went
was
back.
the one today? He just posted a picture of him having lunch with somebody, and I thought it was in New Orleans. I'm going to look at that while one of you is talking. But what I was going to say is if Marshawn is not there as expected and Kool-Aid McKinstry is hurt, I am curious. Is Alontae going to be on the outside at corner, or is he just going to stay in the slot? I'm really curious about that too. What you got? What you got, Brandon? That we
Going
haven't
back to
mentioned
what
yet?
Nick said, he was like, they can show us whatever they want in the limited amount of time that we're there to see. In my mind, the first thing I thought about is, yeah, they could be out there making it rain, but it's just Usher Bucks. Like, it's not real. But on my list, offensive line orientation definitely was number one. But also, I was kind of surprised. Kendre Miller, this is his first time coming in healthy, so we're going to get a chance to see him fully healthy at practice. Hopefully he sustains this going throughout the season. But being able to see him just with fresh legs under him with a good offseason, that's really exciting to see. And also Nick Saldiveri, him being able to be out there. And then kind of to see where Chris Olave's size is at. That was one of our Martin's questions of the days last week. And it really got me to think like, oh, well, it might be time. Chris is actually number one, like flat out, no questions about it. So maybe he did put on some size to go with the new title.
Yeah, I mean, Olave was going to be my next one. That's a great pick. I mean, that's something that I think is important in terms of his development overall. I do kind of want to. The cornerback thing is huge for me. I think that's going to be the story of the offseason. And Marshawn not being there kind of gives Alontae a chance to play probably on the outside a little bit. So I kind of want to see that battle unfold just to kind of see where he's stacking up, where his footing is going to be. I think ultimately he's going to have to win a job on the inside. But I think every time they come back, like it's going to be a battle kind of free-for-all for all of them. I will say that I think globally, NOF's biggest error last year was underestimating Paulson Adebo kind of going into it. And boy, did he show us. Like he showed us like that was a big misstep on kind of. And I still do believe that Alontae has this incredible upside. Like he has incredible physical gifts. Like when everything clicks for him, he is outstanding. But Paulson, man, he locked that down, and that was a huge miss for us, I think, overall, just in terms of evaluating it. But I'm gonna have my eyes locked on that, and then safety just to kind of see what the rotation is there.
Yeah, is Howden and Abram an every other day thing? Are they giving? I wouldn't be surprised at all if on the first OTA we see Abram and Howden's the one who has to earn it.
I'd be a little surprised.
I mean. I expect Howden, but what I'm saying is I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah. Like, and then speaking of orders, I've got a few more things on my list. But speaking of orders, I don't see what order the quarterbacks go in. Like, I don't even.
Spencer's got to be third to start.
But third behind who? Like, is Peterman second or fourth? Like, is Hayner second? Like, I'm really curious.
That's a good point.
I don't think Rattler will be second to start, but I also wonder who is second to start. Like,
all right, let me make my guess right now. I'm gonna guess.
I'm gonna guess Hayner second.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess Carr, Hayner, Peterman, Rattler.
Rattler fourth.
Yeah, I think you got to make him earn it. Make him.
But
come
you've got to give him reps too. So I bet that will be one of those. If we were out there every day, I bet the order would change daily. But I agree with your first order.
I think they'll all get reps. They'll find a way to do it. But I do think that's the basic MO, but I also think with this gentleman in particular, I think it's a good idea to kind of make him earn every single rung of the ladder a little bit.
You know who we're going to get another look at because of injuries? Cam Jordan told us today that he expects to start running this week, but he's only doing walkthroughs so far at defensive end. Chase Young, he's also been doing walkthroughs, a really good sign. Some great stuff today about him we'll get into later. But with Chase Young and Cam Jordan not on the field, I already would have had Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey on my list anyway, but now we're going to probably see them with the ones, rotating in with the ones on the other side of Carl Granderson. So Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey, this is a big section of time for them.
Definitely. I mean, they're not in pads right now, so they're not clacking, but just to be able to see them be in there and the cerebral part of it make motions, it's very exciting to see. You ever got the answer about AK? About the restaurant?
Yeah, he's outside of a hotel, but I don't know what city it's in. I don't know that I recognize it as in New Orleans City, but it looks like he might be back. I don't know.
Got you. Well, Mike kind of alluded to it earlier in the show that we were out there today at the Saints Hall of Fame golf event, and Mike was talking to different players and everything like that. Mike, kind of, what were some highlights from today?
Yeah, some real interesting things. I put a whole recap of it on the website, so please check that out. The Chase Young stuff was interesting to me. It's funny. We were talking to Mickey Loomis, and I had a list in my head of some things I would ask him, and we had not talked to Mickey Loomis in a while. And so I got his thoughts on the draft. We got him in the pre-draft press conference, but I don't remember if we had asked him about Chase Young, and he was really enthusiastic about how all in Chase Young is, which is funny because Chase Young was kind of a man of few words when we talked to him. He didn't want to buy into that. I've got a chip on my shoulder. I've got the career resurrection storyline. But he said he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's dove into the deep end of the pool. He's only allowed to do walkthroughs so far. But he said his enthusiasm, his attitude, how much he wants to be here has really stood out to him. And the fact he's doing walkthroughs, that's just all positive because we've been talking about on recent shows how we almost forget to add expectations for Chase Young into the mix. And man, if he hits the ground running in training camp, that would be huge. And then, I asked Dennis Allen about Marshawn Lattimore too, and he said he did talk to him. When we talked to Dennis Allen during the draft, he said, I haven't talked to Marshawn in a while. Now he has talked to Marshawn. He said it was a positive conversation. Everything's moving forward. Of course, that doesn't mean anything concretely, but it's just the latest sign in that unless something drastically changes, New Orleans or Marshawn Lattimore is in New Orleans's plans this year. What stood out to you guys? Cam Jordan admitting that they want to beat Sean Payton. I thought that was a great soundbite.
Hold up. Going back to this picture. So he's at a resort called the Move and Pick. The woman he's with, her location is listed in Ghana. This hotel.
So he is still in Ghana.
This hotel has multiple locations. One of them is in Ghana. The other ones are in Egypt, the Ivory Coast, Kenya, Morocco, Tunisia, China, Indonesia, Malaysia. I mean, there's a bunch of them, but they're all
he's probably still
all on the other side of the ocean.
And this right here is why you should be subscribed to NewOrleans.Football, because we do the work. The work is being done. This man went through a global database to find out where this.
So someone needs to recap what we were just talking about because I was looking this up.
All right. So what stood out to you from today's conversations with Dennis Allen, Mickey Loomis, Cesar Ruiz, and Cameron Jordan are the ones that
Did we talk about Marshawn?
We talked about Marshawn. We talked about Chase Young and Cam Jordan admitting that they have to beat Sean Payton. Those were the three highlights.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, the thing, just going through it, like the Marshawn saying they talked and everything, that's a good thing. It's a good thing that they talked. And the last time we heard from DA, like they said they hadn't. So that does seem like at least there's something moving that direction a little bit. Now, obviously, you get the call today. You can be on great terms with someone and still end up trading them. So I don't know that ends anything, but every single time we hear something about the ice thawing just a little bit, I think that's a positive thing, that there isn't, that it doesn't, he's not coming out and saying like, I can't talk to this guy, or you know what I mean? Like if there's a possibility of just kind of keeping it together, there's a chance that he could potentially end up staying on the team. So that would be a good thing.
Yeah. Mickey Loomis did acknowledge today that they did make attempts to re-sign Andrus Peat, but obviously those attempts were not at any price. And he confirmed, what we can see with our own eyes, that their approach was to catch up this year. And he said, of course he can't say they turned the corner, but he said they do feel a little bit more comfortable with where they are long-term now because of all the resources that they didn't spend in free agency and really with future draft capital too. They kept all of that too. So, if they feel positive about this team, I think you feel better about long-term resources outlook too, right?
There'll be some revisionist history, I'm sure, about the Andrus Peat thing and how it ends up getting talked about, and people are going to say, oh, like they mismanaged that, they let him go, whatever. Like, I do think going back, if I'm Pete, like I'm leaving. Like I'm leaving at that point. Like they gave my job away last year and they made me take a pay cut. And at this point, it's probably time for I'm just ready to do something else.
Yeah.
He's kind of been like the heel of a lot of like commentary and jokes for a lot of years and all that. Like it probably is time for him to go on and do something else. From the Saints' perspective, though, last year they should have tried to give his job away and they should have made him take a pay cut because like he wasn't performing up to it. And I think anybody that sat around was walking around looking at it like, okay, it's time to do something else. Like, good, okay, they are trying to replace Pete. Like, I think at that point, everybody felt like it was kind of an underwhelming tenure.
Yeah.
Now, in Pete's defense, like, he came back last year, and I think there was some of that, like, all right, like, I had a good year. Like, I showed you this, you guys were wrong, motivation, all that stuff. Like, I think that he ended up changing his narrative and how he was viewed here, and that's a credit to how he played last year. But the things that led up to the point for Andrus Peat to probably feel like, all right, like it's time for me to get out of here and do something else. Like I think at that point in time, last year going into the season, everything that played out probably played out exactly as it should have. Like there should have been those efforts, and he exceeded expectations. But if I'm him, I'm absolutely out of here. And it's not personal. It's not. It was just kind of it's ran its course to me. Like if I'm him, like I would probably want to go play somewhere else and probably have a different experience in my career, because I think for the last 9 years he's probably felt underappreciated,
Sure.
on it, talked about in a certain way, all that stuff. And I don't think those conversations should have been different. Like I do think that he underwhelmed as a first round pick, but yeah, if I'm him, like I just want something different down my career.
Yeah, I'm sure there's part of that. I talked to him at the end of the season, like during locker room cleanout day, and he sounded like he really wanted to stay. I mean, him and his wife have made roots here. They're having a baby probably right now. I remember, but I bet the ultimate thing was I bet the Raiders offered more money and more opportunity than the Saints. I just don't think the Saints are handing out a lot of money. I mean, I think that's why Isaac Gautam left. I think that's why Lonnie Johnson Jr. left. I think the Saints were in contact with these people and saying, Malcolm Roach, like, yeah, we like you, but we're not going to be outbidding anybody this year. And I think that was a big part of it. But I think that's the kind of restraint that anyone who criticizes their cap management is criticizing that they haven't shown that kind of restraint in the past. So I'm sure it's a combination of both with Andrews Pete, but he is a guy who he absolutely could benefit from a change of scenery, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I believe you're both right. They bought in Trey Turner to try to, see where Pete was at, give him some more competition along with Penning. And then Trey Turner got hurt. Then Pete was practicing.
Well, James Hurst took his job last year.
Yeah. Then Pete got hurt, and then we didn't know if he was going to make it out of training camp. And then they ended up needing to have to use him during the season. So your points of him being like underappreciated, but that being warranted is definitely a solid point. We're going to hit a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about who on the Saints' roster can probably make a Pro Bowl or All-Pro this year, and we'll hit the Martin's questions of the day.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000.
Are you tired of renting and ready to own your dream home? Contact Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, your trusted source for home loans. Our competitive rates and flexible terms can help make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, our experienced lenders are here to help. Our online application process allows you to apply on your schedule. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit us online at jeffersonfinancial.org to learn more. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Welcome back to the OG studio. It's now time for our Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey segment. We're bringing back a topic that we had last year, but it's even more interesting now because there's some young players who haven't all the way broken through yet, and there's some older players who are battling Father Time. So let's go draft style. Who has the best chance of making a Pro Bowl or All-Pro team on this current roster?
You want the free space? You want the first pick, or you want to be more creative?
No, I'll take the first one. Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
Rashid Shaheed probably has the best chance of making it.
Mhm.
Big play guy at wide receiver, good returner. Already has established himself as that. And when you are a good returner who makes highlight catches in big bomb plays, you get name recognition. He's with an agent that helps people get their names out there too, Drew Rosenhaus. So yeah, I mean, I think he has probably a good chance of just maintaining his status and getting back there.
I meant to do this research before the show. I'm pretty sure I did Rashid last year, and I was patting myself on the back for it, but I might be making that up. I'm gonna take credit either way. And number 2, I'll go with the other. I don't know if I'd place a bet on this, but Pro Bowl and All-Pro is a lot of it is name recognition. Once you've established yourself, you just got to keep doing what you've been doing and get there. And so Demario Davis is a likely. He made the Pro Bowl as an alternate, but did he make second team All-Pro last year? I think as well. But look, if he keeps playing at that level, he's one of those guys that until somebody comes along and knocks him off that list, it's a hard bet to make at age 35, but yeah, he was still second team All-Pro last year. He's done it. He's been first or second team All-Pro the last 5 years in a row now. So I got to stick with Demario Davis until he finally shows us something different.
Is it Pro Bowl and All-Pro?
Either one.
Or either
Either recognition.
Okay.
Technically, All-Pro is harder to do.
Yeah.
But funny enough, the Saints have had 2 guys over the last few years, Demario Davis, who was making All-Pros years before he finally made his first Pro Bowl 2 years ago, and Ryan Ramczyk, because he was a right tackle, he was getting All-Pro nods before he and still never got a Pro Bowl nod, I don't think. But for the most part, Pro Bowl is a little easier threshold.
So from a marketability standpoint, I know the fans have a vote in Pro Bowl selection along with the accolades that have to go with it. I think this player turns it around this season. I think they return to form, and I think they continue to
I know who he's going with.
rise. Or you think I'm going?
Well, I was going to say AK when you say turns it around, but maybe I'm wrong.
Juwan.
Oh,
I think Juwan.
all right.
Juwan is able to get in there on the NFC side as a tight end, and from a marketability standpoint, the league and the things that he does on like social media is very marketable. He's literally like the dad of TikTok.
So you're predicting like a 700 yardish season?
Yeah.
then?
Yeah.
10 touchdowns, something like that?
I was going 8.
8?
I was going 8-ish, but I
if he
think
gets 10, he's a lock.
Oh
He's a
yeah,
lock
for
to
sure.
get in there,
Yeah, I was figuring more closer to 8, but I think Juwan Johnson returns to form.
708 probably gets it done.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
Maybe
not impossible.
Yeah, you need somebody like George Kittle to take a step aside, Darren Waller to have a quiet year.
Darren Waller, I think he's retired.
Oh, really? He's not still playing for the Giants? There
Yeah,
you go.
I think he
Doors
retired.
opening.
That led into my answer. I was like,
Yeah.
well, who are the premier tight ends in the
Yeah.
NFC? And I was like, well,
There's
you
an
got
opening.
Hawkinson and stuff like that.
Hawkinson for
and
sure.
Darren Waller
Laporta.
is not retired.
He's
but he
not
says
retired
he's
yet?
still considering retirement.
Sam Laporta broke through last year.
Right.
So, yeah, there's some people in his path.
but I'm
it's
also
not
thinking,
impossible.
okay, who do I think is going to make the Super Bowl and won't be available? So I think
All right.
Juwan is going to get it
All
there.
right. All right.
I'll throw one out there. I think Olave is probably the next one that probably has a chance. And now it's tough to get there in the
Yeah.
NFC. I mean, it's a stacked group, but he's definitely good enough to get in there as a replacement. Like one of the who dropped out last year, St. Brown, Metcalf. Metcalf got in for Evans. So I mean, being one of the top 6 or so guys, I think probably gets you into the game. I think he absolutely could get that done.
All right, now you guys are going for alternates. Come on, but that might be what the Saints have to do. That's how they got almost everyone.
They legitimately will make.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I know exactly. No, I had Olave a little lower on my list. I think he might be the most talented player on this list, but that's just the hardest position to crack through. With all the superstar receivers, I'll still go Marshawn Lattimore. I think his name recognition and what he's established already puts him on the page. If he gets through all this noise and he plays 15, 16 games and starts, at a decent level, I think that will have so much notoriety that gets him the recognition. He's my next pick.
I'm going Tyron.
All
I
right.
think he's able
All
to
right, fair.
do an entire season, which longevity is a part of it. And I think he has solid enough stats. Plus, he's like a statesman in the league where I think they'll put him in.
I think that's a better pick than your last pick. I mean, just because like if he had 4 picks last year, like if he gets 4 again, like he could absolutely get in.
Yeah.
5, he could absolutely get in. He has a name recognition. He's a star. Like if he has a good year and the Saints win some games, like there's a chance he could definitely get in. But really, I think the threshold here was really kind of For me, it was the top two in Olave. Like I really feel like they're the only ones that really have like a legit.
I got a few
shot.
more.
I don't think. Realistically, I don't know. Like I'll hear it out.
It might be pulling teeth to get.
Realistically,
to them,
I think there's 3 guys, and I don't think the team's good enough really to even get. I don't think the team's going to be good enough to like spill the door open for like a groundswell of 7 guys. You know.
Well,
what I mean?
The next one who I thought you were going to take, because I think you were high from your film reviews of the way he played and from talking to people, is Eric McCoy. He got in as the first alternate last year, so he's been there now. I think he's got enough name recognition if this offensive coaching staff does the job. I mean, and Jason Kelsey just retired.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Eric McCoy's already
Throw
in
him in there. He's in my top 4. He's in my top 4.
So that I'll make that your pick. And I had Alvin Kamara on here. I think Alvin Kamara has so much name recognition. We both agreed the other day that we think his touches are going to go down in this new offense. He's going to start splitting time with Kendra Miller. He's got a year older and he's 29. But Alvin can do enough special things that if he just puts enough games together and gets the yardage and gets the touchdowns, his name is already on everyone's. And I think this offense is going to be good for him. And even if he's not necessarily better, it's going to make him look better.
The Pro Bowl, it's not the same game like it used to be. It's more of a flag football game along with a skills competition.
Yeah.
So I think people like that who, when you mic up, they'll be talking and they'll be entertaining. It's kind of important whenever you go to putting people in the Pro Bowl. But from an all-pro standpoint, like you said, it's probably way harder to become an all-pro versus a Pro Bowler. Nick, who do you think legitimately can, not right now, but have a breakthrough season and become an all-pro player?
On this team, this season or not this season? Like
this season, health-wise, they stay healthy. They're all the tools are given to them. They can elevate their game to an all-pro team.
I mean, I think DeMario's probably the one that's the closest to it. I mean, he really is. I think Shaheed has some of that. I mean, I think it's the same guys. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
If you get Ragnow's still there, I think in Detroit, like McCoy could have a chance of doing it first or second team. I think that's kind of it. I mean, I think that's really kind of the list. I don't think it's a deep list. Like Marshawn always has the ability, but I just don't see the consistency there for him to make that happen. And I don't think he's ever been an All-Pro before, has he? No. So
Marshawn, did he get second team 1 year? I'm gonna look it up.
I think that's really it for me on that list.
Well, we missed one. This is kind of a free square, and time passes them by. But JT Gray's been a first team All-Pro before, so that's another guy. Who, Marshawn's never even gotten second team All-Pro, which is kind of wild.
The consistency, he's never had that sustained consistency,
right?
And he doesn't really get like, one of the things that I think really matters in that type of voting, because it's people nationally looking at it and not local people. Like I don't think he's ever really had the PFF grades to be an All-Pro either. And that, you can roll your eyes at it, but that stuff matters. Like. Yeah. When you're looking at it,
voters look at that
perception,
because they don't know. They aren't watching every single team. Like they aren't. And if you ever look at the voter list, like it's something. It's been a pet peeve of mine forever.
Voters, air it out, man.
I mean, there's producers on like radio shows that like vote, and like Albert Breer doesn't, Ian Rappaport doesn't, Tom Pelissero doesn't, and it's just kind of like people that I know that are watching the league that I would want to have their opinion and trusted on shaping these like really important legacy things. Mm-hmm. It should be these people that are the closest to the league voting. And it's kind of, it's kind of the quintessential example of like an old boys club. Like it's controlled by some people and their friends are in it. And it's just kind of like people that really are deserving and should be in it aren't in there voting. And, I'm leaving off like a ton of people, but like, those are like, to me, the three, along with Adam Schefter, like 3 of the 4, like most
influence.
Yeah, people that when they talk, like it's like they know what they're talking about and I trust what they're saying.
They talk to people,
Yeah, and they don't.
I will acknowledge there are a few reporters who take that role very seriously, who like who will call us and talk to us about our players. But that's not top to bottom on that list. Unfortunately, what was I about to say before you? I'm
not saying not everybody on, but like there's people on there where it's just like I don't know who this guy is, and like we've been covering the league 15.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I noticed without question over the last 10 years, the Pro Football Focus influence on that list, because it's especially things like offensive linemen, safety, like people who don't have counting numbers like that's what people go to for teams they haven't watched a lot and they'll trust
absolutely.
those grades a lot.
I'm glancing at their depth charts. You know what I mean? Like every week when they're playing an opponent, one of the first things I do is kind of look at it. It gets a barometer. Yeah.
But I mean, that influences voting a lot. What I was going to say is just a few names I'm going to scroll through here that I put on for conversation, not that I would bet on. Cesar Ruiz is another one. If the offensive line improves the play of these guys, he's a guy who could break through because he's got a little name recognition. Derek Carr's obviously always Pro Bowl possible if he puts up the numbers. But a couple of young guys. I just added Taliesin Fuaga to the list when Brandon asked future All-Pro, like could ever become an All-Pro. Brian Brzee, Chase Young, Taliesin Fuaga. Out of those three, Brian Brzee, Chase Young, Taliesin Fuaga, if in the next year or two they hit their ceiling, who do you think is the most likely to ever become an All-Pro caliber player?
Say the names again. Fuaga.
Brian Brzee, last year's first-round pick, Taliesin Fuaga, this year's first-round pick, and Chase Young.
I think Chase Young for sure.
Yeah. Chase Young.
Yep.
Now it's time for our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. The question comes from @JTheJuice. Could the Saints make a run if their offensive line is top 15 or better this year?
Yeah, this is an easy answer. It's an absolute yes. Like, I'm a little down on the Saints. I think they've gotten a little older. You know, a lot of people obviously think, you know, their head coach and their quarterback can only take them so far. But we all agree that they're still the 7, 8, 9, 10 type of win team that they've been. And my biggest concern by miles and miles and miles is the offensive line. And not just because Ryan Ramczyk is, you know, potentially never going to play again and Trevor Penning hasn't come through. The last 2 or 3 years, we've seen one of the worst run games in football. If this offensive line is a strength, I'm predicting them to win the NFC South, and it'd be a disappointment if they don't.
If you tell me their offensive line is just like okay, I would make a big bet on them being a better team than last year. Like I like they have a better coaching staff. The quarterback's going to be around for a second season. The wide receivers aren't going to spend half the season hating the you know looking angry on the field and frustrated and all that stuff. Like assuming they all kind of pick up the offense. Like if you tell me they figure out and I think their defensive line is going to be better than it was last year. There's just too many. There's a lot of lottery tickets, but like if one of them hits, they're better than they were last year. So I think that if they figure that aspect of it out, like. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that they should be a better team than they were last year if they figure that out to just an okay level. Now you're telling me what is it, top 15? Like, yeah, I mean, I think they could win playoff games. Like if they have a top 15 offensive line.
If you say it's top 25, you're probably like, okay, it's not the disaster we feared. Then they should improve in just about every other area. That's the one screaming concern with this team.
No, Nick, when you said top 15 being the threshold for a playoff game, I totally agree because I feel like if they're top 15, that means that the Kubiak offense is running. That means that they're scoring more touchdowns, more efficient in the run game, throwing more passes. You know, everything is working in concert on the offense. And top 15 is putting you, if where you were last year almost got you a playoff game, top 15 can definitely get you in that number for real. We appreciate y'all for stopping into the live show today. For our viewers, we definitely want y'all to stick around for overtime. And for those who aren't signed up yet, what are you doing? Stay locked in because tomorrow we're doing a live show recapping OTA practice. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. Check you next time.